work. So right at the beginning, I just kind of move my base color down, move the flat color down as well. I kind of keep the reflection paths floating. I move my mask all the way to the bottom to always have it, and my depth usually kind of stays towards the top. So now I'm just gonna kind of minimize these guys, put my AO there as well. My shadow path stays there too, and I have a leftover speck. So I'm going to drop him into my lights folder. So I'm going to minimize these guys just so I have, so there's my base color, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this background here from all my layers, just so I have a clean background to work with. So delete that guy, delete these guys here. Go through each one and delete my depth guy here. So I got all these rim lights. I'm probably not going to use them all, but just so you can kind of see what's happening here, I'm going to turn these guys off. So here we go. If I turn on this rim light and switch this over to screen, you can kind of see we're getting some of that lighting information. Lighten's another good one to try, depending on the look you're going for. You know, it's always cool to mess around with these. You know, you get different effects that you play around with. So for now, I'm going to keep this guy on lighten. I think I'm liking what that's doing to the model. But first, let's turn on this this shadow pass and change it to multiply. So now we have, you know, we can see our directional light going right there, and that's looking pretty cool. Next thing I usually do is just fill it with a background color. Sometimes I just do gray, like a dark gray, and then fill that in. And then what I'll do is maybe play with some gradients and just kind of gradient this in. Okay, go in here. There we go. Select my color and then do like a darker color for this guy. Just kind of play with a little background here. Might not be what I go with in the end, but just something. And maybe switch to like a radial one. Change this color to maybe like a lighter color, and then just kind of, oops, just to pop him off a little bit from the background. That might be too much. That might be too white. That's good enough for now. I can always deal with it later. Filter. I'm just going to blur it a little bit. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Blur this guy. There you go. So that's looking kind of cool. So now that we got our shadow layer in there, it's looking pretty neat to me. But I'm gonna come in and play around with a little layer mask, and maybe take down the opacity just a little bit so it's not so dark, and kind of mask this guy with like a soft round airbrush with some pen pressure, no jitter. That seems good. And then I'm going to just come in and paint with black and just kind of soften these shadows just a little bit. And it can be just to your preference. Might not be a whole lot. But you see, getting rid of that there. But I think I'm gonna bring that back. I think that's cool. So yeah, so there's your shadow pass, and then do the same with my ambient occlusion. Multiply it on there. Maybe play with the levels a little bit, kind of darken them. But this is just to kind of show you just what you need to layer and how you need to layer your passes, just so you can get a render out. So now the fun part, for me at least, I really like messing with these lighting passes here. So I'm just going to take these on, not multiply, lighten screen, and I think screen's looking better on that one, and I'm going to do the same and just kind of mask out in case I want to bring it back, mask out areas I don't want, just to kind of tone down some of these lights so they're not super overpowering, like he doesn't need this guy here. Turn the opacity up. Oh, and I'm actually remembering a pass that I need to do in Zbrush real quick. So let me do that real quick. Let's go back to preview, and let me clear the mask out on this guy. Clear that out, and I'm going to go here to my skin here and change the color to like a red. This is going to be my SSS pass, and just document export. And that's the nice thing, is like if you remember, oh, let me try a new pass for something, you can just quickly go back to Zbrush, save out your pass, and then go back into here, open it up, and then drop it in. So I'm gonna delete out that background, delete, and turn them off for now. So yeah, so the process is going to be the same. I'm just going to go through each of these lighting passes, and just overlay them. And this might be a little too much, but you can always come in, tone it down however much you want, or not even use it. But so I'm just going to go in and let's turn on this spec, so now we can get some more detail on our mesh. And this is all obviously going to be kind of impacted by how much detail you sculpted, and what those highlights pick up. So since I didn't really focus too much on the shoulder area, it's pretty smooth and pretty CG looking right now, but I'm not too worried about it. overall, I just kind of wanted to do a quick render pass and kind of see where I'm going with this guy. So yeah, so you notice, this is getting pretty out of control right now. So I'm just gonna turn down the opacity a little bit on this guy and continue playing around with like the masking out stuff and toning down certain areas, that are in shadow and don't really need all those highlights. So I'm going to take the speck out of the eyes. I'm just going to paint it in later. I don't think it's a big deal. It's pretty. So most of this is just to kind of get you started and going on stuff. It's looking pretty cool. Yeah, and it's a lot of it is just kind of being subtle about it. You don't need a whole lot. So I'm just gonna come in and take some of these down. Move these guys out of the way. Maybe you're not getting the look you want. There we go. Screen. You can always play with levels and how shiny you want it. So I'm just going to blow this out a little bit just to have a little bit to work with, and then kind of continue on, kind of tone it back. Doesn't need to be so shiny. Turn down the opacity a little bit. So I'm just gonna keep on going. Hopefully not take too long on this guy, but just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm going with this. But yeah, it's all about just kind of playing with these layers and getting something you like, and then toning it back, or lowering the opacity on these guys. And then yeah, all of this stuff can stay in shadow. Don't need all this over here. Tone that back. So at this point, it just becomes kind of personal preference thing, where you want, how you want your guy to look and whatnot. So I'm just gonna do the same for all of these passes here. Until I end up with something I like, and you can always play with colors you want. Maybe you want like a cool light, or you want like a warm light. It's just whatever you want. Just play around. This stuff I love to do. Just kind of play around until I find something cool that I'm having fun with, and that sells the character in a cool way. This gives me ideas, going forward. I might go with that cool light here, turn on the saturation a little bit. I think that's looking kind of cool. Oops. Can always play with the levels. How much you want to have that pop out. I kind of like that, it's helping his silhouette, popping out from the background. So that's a little bit strong. Maybe I might like it a little bit more. So. Make it a bit sharper with some levels. I think that's looking kind of cool. Maybe play with, yeah. Come on, keyboard shortcuts. Control, that's not what I want. Control U brings up the hue saturation slider. Kind of tone that a little bit. Maybe turn the saturation down. Doesn't need to be super obvious. So yeah, so you see these passes, kind of start bringing stuff together, and in the end, you can always get rid of what you don't want. You can always, turn certain things off. But so I think I'm gonna come in and tone this guy down. He doesn't need these highlights right here. I think that's too much, a little bit of overkill. I think this rim light might be too much. I'm not going to bother with it. So yeah, so it just depends on what you want and kind of what makes sense for the piece and what looks cool to you. So yeah, this is where I spend kind of most of my time, playing around with these light layers for a little bit. Oh yeah, so now for this SSS pass, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this guy here, and give me 1 second. Okay, I apologize about that. Had a phone call to take. So what I'm going to do for this SSS pass here is, so I'm going to select this guy here, and then I'm going to apply the layer mask, and then so I selected the wrong thing, but I'm going to invert that layer mask. So now whenever I paint in white over here, is gonna bring that up. And since my mask first oh wait, let me get rid of this guy. Let me do that again. So there we go. Select that guy and apply a layer mask. There we go. That's what I wanted. So now anytime I brush in white in a layer mask, it's going to bring in It's gonna bring in that, that nice subsurface kind of look to the guy. And I might play with the blending mode here until you get, that look you want. Just play around with that guy. Sometimes overlay works nicely. Sometimes even just on normal kind of looks cool. So I'm just gonna brush it in here. Maybe on his thumb a little bit, anywhere where it's where the light's, kind of passing through. You can see that. Hands is a good spot. Also helps add a little bit of depth overall. I think this is cool. And I can always just bring this guy down, and if I want, play with the saturation of it. If you want it more saturated and more lightness, getting something you want. So yeah, playing around with the layers, look at that. That's already looking kind of cool. Even just changing the color, you get a different look. But I'm just gonna keep it on that standard red, and see if I can. Get something I like out of this guy. Normal looks good to me. Maybe play with the levels. Oops. Yeah, really blow that out. Oop, too much. Yeah, that's looking cool. Just tone it down maybe a little bit. And maybe just don't want his eyes glowing. So paint that out. Over here. So that's how I would use that SSS pass here. Just, back and forth. Painting between, bringing it in and, bringing it out, just to get that look. There we go. Just painting with the wrong color. Just subtly bringing in some of that color where you want it. Going a little crazy on the ear, so I'm just going to tone that back a little bit. Yeah, and then you can play around with where you want them layered up. Sometimes it looks better on the top of the stack, sometimes it looks better on the bottom. Just depends. So it kind of looks a little crazy all over right now, but have faith in yourself. There's always that point you're like, oh my god, what am I doing with my life? But as long as you just keep working at it and don't get too discouraged and just keep having fun with it, the piece will start coming together. So I'm going to tone back some of these highlights here. I think it's too strong. Too strong. Same with some of these guys. Whoops. A bit too much, so I'm gonna tone these guys back. I'm not too worried about kind of this shoulder area. I'm gonna probably put it in some shadow and whatnot. Yeah, I might want to come in and duplicate that AO. Just tone it down a little bit, just to get a bit more dark in there. Another thing I like to do is, now that I have all those lightings passes on top, duplicate the shadow pass and bring it up kind of higher in the stack, just to reinforce that shadow color again. Or I should say, just reinforce the shadow in general and colorize it a little bit. Just real light, low on the saturation, but tone it to a blue or something. Bring it down a little bit. And then with the depth pass is pretty cool. You can kind of overlay it, and you'll see it'll kind of start to bring out these areas in highlight, and sometimes, you know, inverting it will get you different effects. My computer doesn't like when I do that for some reason. But overlay or soft light, play around with those effects, and just gonna tone that guy down a little bit. Play with the levels. So, been kind of rambling on about different passes, and you've been just seeing me paint stuff. Flat color is cool. You can, you know, overlay it, and you'll get different looks. Maybe you can mess with the color balance of the guy. It's always cool to do, you know. Whoops, not what I wanted. Just on this guy. Adjustments, color balance. So I always forget it's Control V. So you can. So once you mess with that, you know, get a look you want. Shadows maybe more towards the blue. So that's looking kind of cool to me. Maybe a bit too strong. Just tone that down. So I don't know why it does that. You can always, you know, do the same here. And it's just kind of messing around, you know, with what you got, and you can find some cool effects, cool looks. That's a little too dark. That's looking kind of cool to me, so I'm just gonna tone that back a little bit. And you can always play with your different adjustment layers. It's gonna give you interesting effects. I think he's fine on that overlay. I'm going to do is I'm going to move these ambient occlusions up to the top.